Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ungainly Titan. We're here on Icebound. It's an old game that I've been sitting on for quite a while, waiting for the opportunity to show it. We're in the T-57 Heavy. It's back when I was playing the Tier 10 tanks, the Tier 10 US tanks, and it is a pretty heavy Tier 10 game. We've got 2 Tier 9s on our side. The enemy have 1 Tier 9 and a Tier 8. Icebound is a map that I don't particularly care for because it just leads to the same thing, more or less happens on it all the time. You have to keep an eye on your minimap. You got to make sure where your allies are, otherwise you can get isolated very, very easily on this map. The streets run radially for the most part, in and out of the town, so if you come around a corner and people have slipped around behind you along the outskirts of the town, you can be caught in that location without any real chance of escape. I was heading for the centre of the town this stage, but I don't want to be the first in. I want to make sure my allies are en route. However, I come in here and realise that I'm at a dead end. So I go this way, which puts me on the edge of my team. But I'm heading back towards the centre, but I keep an eye on the minimap again because I want to make sure that I'm not being enveloped around in the back too much. Need to keep an eye on that tank destroyer out there in the open and see if he spots anything as well. We have quite a few tanks coming into the centre of the map, so I'm going to join them. Centre is not always the best place to be. Sometimes it tends to be a bit of a slugfest. And it depends on who arrives there with the most tanks at the beginning. It's also vulnerable to artillery because it's big enough a space that artillery can actually get a reasonable shot in, and it's not surrounded by too many really tall buildings. However, I think we're arriving with the advantage, and this IS-7 just drives out. I have no idea what he thought was going on, but he basically pushes out in front of 3 or 4 tanks and 2 of them autoloaders without any concern, and absolutely gets annihilated. Now I'm going to go for the reload here, even though I have 1 shell left, because there's no obvious target that would benefit from just firing off the last shell into. I might as well, if I'm taking the risk, come out with a full load. We have a couple of enemy tanks appearing and a few more around about the boundaries. Another one's an IS-7, which is again a particularly tough tank. But however, there's a mouse going to engage with him, so I think I'm going to back up the mouse. There are some tanks supporting the IS-7, but they've pulled back when they see the mouse coming. I put a round, put a second round, bounce both of them, and come out again, just finish off last round, and might as well put a Centurion, because I'm not going to hang around here getting shot at in order to get another shot at the IS-7. Pulling back to reload. Bit of control issues here with lag. Artillery starting to drop shots in the locality as well. So we're fully reloaded. So now we're in a position to push forward, and we can see the IS-7, but we don't want it. We want him to shoot first. So he's fired. So now I can come around, tracking shot, hold him in place, and then start putting rounds into him. His allies are a little too far back. They bounced one there off the angled front of my tank. They needed to be a bit more further forward if they wanted to put a clean round through my lower front plate. And then artillery shaves another chunk of my health, probably close to half of it. I am waiting for the reload, but again I have considerable amount of allies here. So I'm going to push forward, put a round into the Conqueror. I'm going to decide that I want to get rid of the Conqueror. So I'm going to rush forward. I'm going to cross the open space here, rely on the fact that the IS-4 is deep in cover. There's a Centurion after being exposed, but I have enough rounds to finish him off. And I still have a round spare. So the mouse is closing into the IS-4, so I take the opportunity to reload again, with the mouse and the IS-7 coming up to engage in the IS-4. I'm probably safe enough. The Conqueror has come around the corner, and he's taken return fire from both of my allies. So, and he's just disappeared from view. I come around, there's a Waffenträger down there, but he's disappearing out of view. And that was a round from the IS-4 passing just behind my turret. So I put one, bounce. He is rocking back and forth, and it is actually proving effective. So I'm going to put a round through the tracks to stop that and hold him in place while I put another one through his lower front plate, and then I leave him for my allies to finish off. He did get his revenge though, he did put a round into me. So there's only 2 tanks remaining. That one of them was in the Waffenträger, but he's in a reload cycle, and that's lasting about a minute. So he's not going to get another shot off. And the last remaining tank is the IS-7 around the corner here. Now I still haven't fully reloaded, so I'm just going to keep driving, because I'll have a flank shot by the time I get the reload in, and that's it. I've managed to fire the last round. Kill the last enemy tank. So we get 4 tanks, 12 damaging ribbons, a couple of tracking shots. So we do over 4,000 damage, along with the 4 kills, which is pretty good, and we got a first class mastery. So, like I said, this is the ideal way, if you can get it and manage it, to use a tank like the T-57 Heavy. Let other people take the heat. Let the enemies were isolated. We were able to get at each of them one at a time. They weren't reversing back onto their support tanks quickly enough. Tracking shots are really useful. It's a really good habit to get into, the habit of tracking your enemies. Even if you don't have autoloaders, but especially if you have autoloaders, if you can make the first shot a tracking shot, you hold the enemy in place, and it makes it much easier to put the remaining rounds into them. But even if you don't have an autoloader, if you get into the habit of tracking enemies in exposed locations, then your allies will have no problem finishing off those enemies. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. And once again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you all again soon.